I was seconds away from signing my mother's inheritance away. The pen was already in my hand. My wife sat beside me, fingers tightly wrapped around her purse, eyes red like she hadn't slept. Across the desk, the notary flipped the final page toward me and said, "Just sign here. Simple. Clean. Permanent." "It's the only way, Daniel," my wife whispered. "If we don't transfer the assets, they'll freeze everything. We'll lose the house." I nodded. Because fear makes logic feel urgent. And urgency makes mistakes feel necessary. I lowered the pen. "Don't." The word was quiet. So quiet I almost missed it. I looked up. The notary hadn't moved, but his eyes were on me now. Not professional. Not neutral. Focused. He leaned forward slightly like he was adjusting the papers, but his voice dropped just enough for only me to hear. "Don't sign," he whispered. "Your wife is lying to you." Everything in the room went still. My grip tightened around the pen. "What?" I said louder than I meant to. My wife turned sharply. "What happened?" The notary leaned back instantly, face returning to neutral like nothing had happened. "Everything okay, sir?" he asked calmly. I stared at him. Then at my wife. Then back at the paper. Because a second ago this was just a signature. Now it was something else. A choice. And for the first time that morning, I wasn't sure who I was supposed to trust. My name is Daniel Cross. I'm 38, and until that moment I believed two things without question. That my wife would never lie to me. And that urgency meant truth. Both of those beliefs were about to break. The inheritance wasn't just money. It was my mother's entire estate. Her house, her investments, the last thing she left me after a quiet life of discipline and sacrifice. She used to say, "This isn't for comfort. It's for protection." I never understood what she meant. Until that office. My wife, Elena, had come to me 3 days earlier with a story that felt just real enough to panic me. A business issue. Her company was being audited. Something about internal liability, frozen accounts, temporary exposure that could spill over into our shared assets. Her lawyer, someone I had never met, had apparently advised an immediate transfer of my inheritance into a protected holding under her control until things settled. Temporary. Everything dangerous is temporary when it's being sold. I didn't question it. Not because it made sense. Because she sounded afraid. And fear is convincing. But now, sitting in that chair, pen hovering over the paper, I replayed everything she had told me. And for the first time, I noticed something missing. Proof. Not one document. Not one official notice. Just words. Carefully chosen. Carefully timed. I glanced at the notary again. He didn't move. Didn't look at me. But he had already said enough to change everything. And now I had to decide. Was I about to save my wife? Or hand everything over to a lie? I set the pen down. Not dramatically. Just enough to stop the moment. Elena noticed immediately. "Daniel," she said, voice tightening just slightly. "What are you doing?" I leaned back in the chair, buying myself a second. "Just thinking," I said. That was all it took. Her posture changed. Subtle. But I saw it now. The urgency came back, not fear, not concern, urgency. "We don't have time for this," she said quickly. "I told you what happens if we delay. They freeze everything. This has to be done today." Has to. That word again. I turned to the notary. "Can I have a minute?" I asked. He nodded once. "Of course." I stood up. "So do I," Elena said immediately, rising with me. "No," I replied, a little sharper than I intended. "Just me." That stopped her. For a second. Then she smiled. Not warm. Controlled. "Daniel," she said softly, "this isn't the moment to get paranoid." Paranoid. Interesting word. I walked out into the hallway. The door closed behind me. And for the first time since she brought this to me, I had silence. The notary stepped out a moment later. No rush. No pressure. Just calm. He looked at me and said quietly, "You don't have any supporting documents, do you?" I shook my head. He nodded once. Then said the sentence that locked everything into place. "Then this isn't urgency." Pause. "It's extraction." Extraction. The word stayed in my head longer than anything else he had said. "What do you mean?" I asked. The notary didn't rush his answer. "In my line of work," he said calmly, "real urgency comes with paperwork. Notices. Legal filings. Deadlines that exist outside of someone's story." He looked at the closed door behind me. "This doesn't have that." My chest tightened. "She said her lawyer?" Then asked to speak to him, the notary interrupted. "Right now. Directly. Simple." obvious, and somehow, I hadn't done it. I nodded once and turned back toward the door. Before I opened it, the notary added one more thing. If I'm wrong, he said, you lose nothing by confirming. Pause. But if I'm right. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. I walked back inside. Elena looked up immediately. Too quickly. Everything okay? She asked. I took my seat slowly. Then slid the papers back toward the center of the desk. Call your lawyer, I said. Silence. Not confusion. Not surprise. Just a gap. Now, she asked. Yes. Her fingers tightened around her phone. He's in court, she said. I told you. Then we wait, I replied. That's when her mask slipped. Just a fraction. Annoyance. Sure. Controlled. Dangerous. We can't wait, Daniel, she said. You don't understand what's at stake. I met her eyes. For the first time that morning. I wasn't trying to understand. I was watching. And what I saw didn't look like fear. It looked like pressure. Put him on speaker, I said. Elena didn't move. Not right away. Which told me more than any answer could have. Daniel, she said, lowering her voice, this is not how this works. Then explain how it does, I replied calmly. Silence stretched across the desk. The notary didn't look up. Didn't interfere. But I could feel his attention shift slightly. Elena finally unlocked her phone. Scrolled. Stopped. Then turned the screen slightly away from me as she dialed. Another small detail. Another crack. She lifted the phone to her ear. It's ringing, she said. We waited. 10 seconds. 15. Then she pulled the phone away and frowned. No answer, she said. Like I told you, he's probably... Call again, I cut in. That time she didn't hide the irritation. Daniel, this is ridiculous. Call. Again. She did. Same result. No answer. I leaned forward slightly. Give me the number. Her eyes snapped to mine. Why? I'll call. Another pause. Longer this time. He won't pick up for you, she said. That's not the point. Now it was obvious. This wasn't inconvenience. This was avoidance. Elena, I said quietly, give me the number. She stared at me, measuring, calculating. Then slowly, she placed the phone face down on the table. No, she said. Just that. No explanation. No excuse. Just refusal. And in that moment, everything became clear. Because truth doesn't resist verification. Only lies do. I leaned back in my chair. Not angry. Not surprised. Just certain. Then we're done here, I said. Elena's head snapped up. Excuse me? I stood, pushing the papers gently back toward the notary. I'm not signing anything today. That's when it broke. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But completely. Daniel, sit down, she said, voice tightening. You're making a mistake. No, I replied calmly. I almost did. Her hand slammed lightly against the table. Frustration. Real this time. You don't understand what you're risking, she snapped. I looked at her. Really looked. No fear. No concern. Just urgency collapsing into anger. Then explain it, I said. With proof. Silence. Again. And that silence said everything. The notary cleared his throat slightly, still neutral. We can reschedule if needed. No, I said. There won't be a reschedule. I turned to leave. Daniel, Elena said sharply, standing now, if you walk out that door, don't expect me to be here when you come back. There it was. Not fear of loss. Threat of withdrawal. I paused at the door. Then said the one thing she wasn't prepared for. Then don't be. And I walked out. Behind me, I heard her call my name. What? Then louder. But I didn't stop. Because the moment you see the truth, going back becomes a choice. And I had already made mine. I didn't go home. Not right away. I sat in my car outside the notary's office for 10 minutes, replaying every conversation from the past 3 days. Every word. Every pause. Every moment I had mistaken urgency for truth. Then my phone rang. Elena. I watched it. Let it ring. Then stop. A second later, a message. You just destroyed everything. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was predictable. When control slips, blame replaces it. Another message came. Do you even realize what you've done? Yes. For the first time. I did. I started the car. Not to escape. To move forward. Halfway home, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered. Daniel Cross, a voice said. Yes. This is Martin Hale, Senior Compliance Officer at Ardent Financial. My grip tightened slightly on the steering wheel. I'm calling regarding a flagged inquiry made under your name this morning. Go on, I said. There was an attempt to initiate a full asset transfer linked to your inheritance account, he continued. The request raised internal alerts due to irregular authorization routing. Irregular. That word hit clean. We paused it, he added. Standard protocol. But we need to confirm, did you authorize this transfer? I looked straight ahead. No, I said. Pause. Then his tone shifted. Then you need to be aware of something, Mr. Cross. Another pause. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't. And now, it wasn't just my problem anymore. I pulled over. Engine running. And steady. This wasn't a mistake, I repeated. Then what was it? The compliance officer didn't hesitate. An internal assisted attempt, he said. Whoever initiated it had partial access credentials and tried to route the authorization through a secondary legal channel. My chest tightened. Elena? I asked. We don't name individuals over the phone, he replied. But I will say this. The request originated from a legal entity that has attempted similar transfers before. Similar? Not first time. Pattern. Your account is now fully secured, he continued. We've frozen all external authorization pathways and flagged any future attempts for investigation. Thank you, I said. I ended the call and sat there in silence. Then my phone buzzed again. Elena. I answered this time. Not because I needed answers. Because I already had them. Daniel, she said immediately, voice softer now, controlled again. We need to talk. No, I replied. Pause. Then carefully, you're overreacting. This could have been handled quietly. Quietly. Of course. That's the point, I said. It was. Silence. Then her voice dropped. Colder now. You just lost your wife. I looked out at the road ahead. Empty. Clear. No, I said calmly. I stopped losing everything else. I ended the call. That evening I went home alone. Same house. Same walls. Different understanding. My mother didn't leave me an inheritance for comfort. She left it for protection. And today, it did exactly what it was meant to do.